Uh-oh. Okay, we'll start with this. Lauren Price gives an update on a potential Mikaela Mayer showdown. In a time of great uncertainty. Despite the radio silence, unified world welterweight champion Lauren Price believes that an undisputed clash with Mikaela Mayer will take place later this year. The pair came through their last outings in a comprehensive fashion, perfectly teeing up for a mouth-watering battle for all the major belts at 147. In the months that followed their victories last March, it seems that talks of their transatlantic dust-up, for which both champions have expressed a clear desire, suddenly went deathly quiet. Initially, it appeared as though Mayer was reluctant to travel to the UK, or at least Wales, after finding herself on the wrong end of two contentious decisions. Those defeats saw her drop marginal split decisions to both Alicia Baumgartner and Natasha Jonas before she then dethroned Sandy Ryan for the WBO title in what was a make-or-break fight. And sure enough, the American delivered a far more measured display in their immediate rematch, retaining her welterweight title with a wide unanimous decision victory. The difference between the Sandy Ryan fights and the aforementioned fights is in the Sandy Ryan fights, Mikaela had home field advantage. That fight happened here in America. That's not saying that she jobbed Sandy Ryan. She won the both of those fights fair and square. That's saying that when she faced Natasha Jonas in Liverpool, the judges did not give her the consideration that she deserved. But she did get that consideration here in America in both the Sandy Ryan fights, and just a few weeks prior to that, WBA champion Lauren Price had produced an equally dominant performance against Natasha Jonas, adding the WBC and IBF belts to her collection. There is only one more to collect, and that's Mikaela's. It only made sense then for Mayer to call out the Olympic gold medalist later on that month, with the two technicians looking to reign supreme over their division. According to Price, though, their fight now looks likely to take place later than expected, as the window to stage a summer sizzler has seemingly come to pass. But still, the 30-year-old remains convinced that they will nonetheless lock horns in a few months down the line. The question is, who will promote it? Because I don't get the sense that Lauren Price would come to America to box on a Top Rank show, and Top Rank have their own problems, as does Boxer. Both promotional outfits are in the market for new broadcast partners, so now is a less than ideal time to make a fight between their fighters, whether it's here in America or in the United Kingdom. If it would have been in July, it would have been nice because we were both coming off of fights, Price told Sky Sports. Now, we're looking at September or October to fight. I don't know. I think we will fight. I don't think there's going to be a problem with getting it done later. Hopefully we can get something done by September. I want to try and squeeze in 3 fights this year. I doubt that she's going to, because her promoters got their own problems. Lauren Price throughout either September or October, but that seems little more than just a ballpark, not an educated guess as to when the fight might happen, because without some clarity as to where Boxer will be going once the Sky deal ends, and the same applies to Top Rank, we don't know when this fight is going to happen. We don't even know if it will happen, because it takes money to make it. I think Mikaela Mayer is going to get a passport out, board a plane for peanuts on the dollar. No. There is an off chance that most valuable promotions might get involved, as they are not above using other promotional outfits as fighters to decorate their undercards. But we can't constantly rely on MVP to make every high-profile women's boxing match, but they are an option.
That is, if they are interested.
So if they were to fight, what would be the winning strategy for Michaela? She's got to hit Lauren with so much, so hard, so fast, Lauren doesn't have time to think. Michaela would have to take the initiative and take it to Lauren Price to make her uncomfortable because she can't hope to win a chess match. Lauren is too fast on her feet, too much speed in those hands.
Too quick to counter. Michaela has to rush her and make it a dogfight, not a boxing match.
A dogfight because Lauren Price in her young pro boxing career still hasn't been in one of those. Her speed elicits a lot of respect from her opponents so far. So Michaela would have to take chances. She's got to make it a dogfight where Lauren has to slow the tempo down and keep it a boxing match.
Box.
Interrupt Michaela Mayer on the way in with quick counters, then get out of the way.
Interrupt her and stifle her forward momentum. Give her something to think about.
Being honest, it's a little hard not to go with Lauren Price to win this fight. She has a lot working for her, but you never know. Michaela's experience is a factor, and she is a vastly more experienced professional boxer than Lauren is. When will it happen? Your guess is as good as mine, as good as Lauren's.
Mexican Monster, what's cracking, bro?
Doing good, man. Just here, just got done training. You know, another nice day in the gym, and just relaxing, getting ready for the new one. Yeah. Turkey Alalshikh told me that he would want me to fight Canelo at the end of the 4-fight contract. So we'll see.
Turkey said that.
He said that, but at the end of the day, it comes down to Canelo. If Canelo don't want to fight, he don't have to fight nobody.
So Turkey does want to see you versus Canelo.
Yeah, that's what he told me. So we just got to see. Like I said, I'm not gonna say we're never gonna fight. So we're just gonna see what happens.
And so according to David Benavidez, Turkey Alalshikh has expressed his interest in making that fight. He wants to see it. I do too. I think a lot of people do. More than they want to see a Crawford fight.
Some people.
What Turkey would want is for David Benavidez to be the final fight of Canelo's 4-fight deal that he has already one fight into. That fight was the William Skull fight. The second fight will be the Crawford fight. The third...
That could be Chris Eubank Jr. That could be Hamza Shiraz.
And David would presumably be the fourth, provided that Canelo stays in the winner's bracket for the duration of the deal. But that makes it all the more obvious that David needs to be dealing with Turkey.
Not taking a hard-line stance about being a Vegas fighter.
I mean, think about it. It makes it all the more silly that they were already offered the fight they are now pursuing.
The Callum Smith fight.
They were offered that fight already by Turkey for millions of dollars, and they turned it down.
Well, hopefully, we might be looking at a future opponent. Callum Smith, we're both at 175. He just gave a great fight, and I think me and Callum Smith would be a great fight, so maybe we can make that happen in the future.
We received a large amount of millions to fight Smith, and we denied. A large amount of millions. To fight Smith, and we denied.
So when you think about it, all of these fighters that David Benavidez claims to be interested in fighting, Callum Smith, Jai Opataya, Canelo Alvarez, every single one of them has boxed in Saudi. Every single one of them is aligned with Turkey.
So why shouldn't you be aligned with Turkey? Instead of scrambling in America to sell pay-per-views in a dwindling boxing market, why not just align yourself with Turkey and get some assurances that you will get at least one or some of those fights? Even if Canelo doesn't want to fight you.
You could have still got the Callum Smith fight, and I think it would have been done by now if you let Turkey take control, and not just the Callum Smith fight, the winner of Better Be versus Bivol, if you really want the winner of Better Be versus Bivol. But what we've seen from Team Benavidez is a hardline stance.
They're the ones making things difficult. They don't want to box in Saudi.
Personally, I would never go to Saudi.
So then, at this point, what needs to happen
I feel like it'd sell more here, to be honest with you. That's the one thing they talk about, like Turkey Alalshikh, and they say, would you ever fight with them over there in Riyadh? But at the end of the day, all my fan base is here in Las Vegas. I'm a Las Vegas fighter, you know what I mean? I want to take advantage of this market because I've worked 11 years to. This is my first time having a freaking crowd like that, so I want to stay here.
So that is the reason.
Are you going to go to Callum Smith then?
This one possibility, or you say better in Las Vegas. T-Mobile, I love MGM.
Seems very obvious to me that Turkey not only wants to work with David, but he has a lot of options for him, not exclusive to a Canelo Alvarez fight.
This whole thing about not wanting to box in Saudi, not every show Turkey does is in Saudi. Did you forget? Crawford versus Madrimov was on the West Coast. Recently, he did the Times Square show in New York, and the fight he's about to do with Canelo and Crawford, that's in Vegas. I'm not seeing a real reason that David shouldn't work with Turkey, unless David doesn't really want those fights that he claims he wants.
Joshua versus Dubois was at Wembley Stadium.
Crawford versus Canelo is at Allegiant Stadium.
To where this whole hang-up about not wanting to box in Saudi, I mean, you can't be serious. Canelo Alvarez is aligned with Turkey Alalshikh for the next 3 fights, and that is roughly a year and a half. And that year and a half, if you don't align yourself with Turkey, what are you gonna do?
Outgrow 175.
Talk about Canelo Alvarez a million times. Talk about that fight. 1 minute, both David and his promoter are telling you that that fight is never going to happen. But the latest is, never say never.
Make up your mind.
Underneath it all, I think David already did. I think they're charting a course to cruiserweight. I think they're waiting for Zurdo to finish his fight with Dorticos so that they can then move up there. And they will still mention Canelo Alvarez as a marketing tool, a means of promotion.
It's the same old shit.
Because it's very obvious that to get at all of these fights that you claim to want, you need to align yourself with Turkey.
Every single one of them can happen if you align yourself with Turkey. And if the focus is still Canelo Alvarez, I think the only way you get that fight is with Turkey. He's the only one who's got the kind of money Canelo is looking for.
But if you'd rather just keep doing the rounds on podcasts, playing yourself the violin and feeling sorry for yourself, have at 'em, cowboy, because it's very obvious what you need to do now. The question is, are you going to do it?
Back down to the super middleweight division where Edgar Berlanga plans on damaging Hamza Shiraz. I want to break his face.
It feels good to reach the top. According to Edgar Berlanga, he's put in enough work to be considered one of the best and brightest stars in the world. And while he did lose to Canelo Alvarez in September of last year, that only reinforced his line of thinking, even if the rest of the world does not agree with him. Outside of his matchup against Alvarez, odds makers love Berlanga. That love affair continues as they've pushed him as the slight favorite over Hamza Shiraz on July 12th at Ring 3. Ring Magazine's third boxing event, which takes place at the Louis Armstrong Stadium in Queens, New York City. Having expectations is a good thing, but at times, complacency can creep. And sitting back and believing everything will fall at your feet has led to numerous fighters dropping the ball. Berlanga, 23-1 with 18 KOs, has been around the game long enough to see it happen, but he promises to remain locked in on Shiraz, despite other things floating around in the background.
If the guy's as bad as you make him out to be, why do the bookies have him a slight favorite?
Power, or the perception of it, and more experience at this weight than Hamza Shiraz. Remember, this will be Hamza's super middleweight debut, and it's not like Hamza looked good in his last fight. He didn't. A lot of people felt that he should have lost. So if the bookies have a limited fighter in Edgar Berlanga as the slight favorite going in, that's why.
I can't stand the guy. But in the spirit of objectivity, we do have to acknowledge that he is a threat to Hamza Shiraz, and the bookies do.
I'm at the elite level already, said Berlanga via his YouTube channel. I don't overlook no fighter. I'm going in there focused. It could be a sign of respect. It could also be weariness. Berlanga wouldn't call himself a fan of Shiraz, 21-0 with 1 draw and 17 knockouts, but he has watched him closely over the years, including his most recent ring appearance. The 26-year-old Londoner got off to a less than ideal start to this year. Instead of being crowned the middleweight division's WBC champion, he settled for a split decision draw against Carlos Adames. An immediate rematch was in play, but another arduous weight cut played a factor in Shiraz moving up to face
Berlanga instead. For the hard-hitting star, Berlanga wants even more respect than he's been given. That, however, will only come if he's able to win world titles or, at the very least, take down names like Shiraz. If beating him will lead to bigger and better things, Berlanga wants to do more than simply grabbing a points win. I want to break every bone in his face. It's nauseating to hear them refer to Edgar Berlanga as being a star, while at the same time tickets for the show struggle to sell. It would seem that Berlanga has not captivated the Puerto Rican hearts and the Puerto Rican minds of the Puerto Ricans in New York the way that Felix Trinidad did and Miguel Cotto. Edgar is not cut from the same cloth as them, and thus he doesn't have the same following, but for whatever reason, they still call him a star. I think that boxing would be better off if Hamza Shiraz won the fight because he's more marketable, carries himself well, and he is more about fighting the best fighters than Edgar Berlanga, I think. The only reason Edgar fought Canelo was because that's tantamount to a lottery ticket. The rest of the time, he avoids every formidable fighter at his weight, and he's only fighting Hamza Shiraz because of how Hamza looked in his last fight. It's very obvious what kind of fighter Edgar is and what he's all about. Struggling ticket sales aside, this is an intriguing matchup because I think that Hamza is a more well-schooled boxer than Edgar is, but Edgar's used to 168, and he has power, some, enough, I think, that he could hurt Hamza, who's new to the weight, and not just new to the weight, but breaking in a new trainer. He's not with Ricky Funes anymore. He's being trained by Andy Reid. And Andy's a good trainer. He's proven himself a good trainer, but this will be his very first fight in Hamza's corner. So that is a wild card. This is a 50-50 fight. You can like Hamza's boxing, I do, but I like Justice Huni's boxing going into the Wortley fight, and you saw what happened. While Fabio Wortley was not as well-schooled a boxer as Justice Huni, power made all the difference. Fabio's power filled the gap. Something similar could apply to Edgar. To where maybe Hamza Shiraz is winning the fight and winning some rounds, and then something gets in, and he goes down. A genuinely intriguing fight. I like the card in its entirety. I like the whole card from top to bottom. Matias versus Puello, Stevenson versus Zepeda, Morel versus Katayev, and of course, Shiraz versus Berlanga. A proverbial minefield because I cannot let my disdain for Edgar Berlanga cloud my judgment. I would love to see him lose. I would love to see him knocked out. But that doesn't mean that Hamza is the man to do it, or is he? If he does, that might line him up for a Canelo fight, on the predication that they share a common opponent in Edgar Berlanga, but Hamza knocked him out where Canelo didn't. I could see that. Provided that Hamza beats Edgar in what is a genuinely difficult fight to edge, a tough fight to call, but those are the best kind. And with the fight date fast approaching, gonna have to make a decision. I'm leaning towards Hamza. Maybe Carlos Adames made Hamza look bad, but Edgar's not Carlos Adames. Doesn't have his fundamentals. Even if he is a little bigger, maybe he does punch harder, his boxing all around, it's pretty shit. Pretty crap.